So, I've been wanting to make this video for a while already. I guess to explain to a lot of people the type of person I am, mental health wise and emotion wise, to why I swear a lot when I'm trying to read something. When I say I'm trying not to cuss as much because it's a big problem. Not even a big problem. Cussing, you can cuss all you want, but sometimes you can't do it. I mean, I really, at one point in Twitch, I would smoke a lot of cigarettes because I was really stressed out on the fact that whether or not y'all as the viewers would be happy or mad or have, I guess, burden on me. I don't know, but how I want my story to be told, I guess I'm telling it now so that way people know of the type of person I am. Even though it's mental health, worldwide mental health day, whatever, or at the end of it, I want to at least give you guys something of my life so that way you guys can try to have hope, really, and not go through the same experiences I went through. And if you're going through the same experiences, you have friends and family that love you, that care about you, and most importantly, the reason I do Twitch, I said it many times, is to actually have people come together who feel the same way I feel, who have the same problems and issues I do. I look up to a lot of YouTubers and Twitch streamers that have issues like I do, as well as being, I guess, an introvert, really, but overall, not really an introvert. I'm talking, of course, the idea of the whole stereotype of mental health. I guess it's an issue that's never really touched down to as a topic, and I'm going to talk about that today or tonight. When I was a little kid, I would be considered a crybaby, and a lot of people thought that I cried a lot out of attention, but really, no. I was one of those kids to where I would, like, one minor thing would happen, and I would, like, the world would collapse instantly. That's my crying. But how I grew up, though, it's another story for another time, but going on, I've experienced a lot in my life, I guess in most cases, in my personal life, a lot of people can say that they had good childhood memories or bad memories. I don't know about my memories. I don't really remember that much growing up, but I do remember some very things that I guess a lot of kids should not experience at a very young age. It was more like when I was growing up, I think most of my memories were going to funerals, really. Going to funerals, hearing a lot of arguments, getting to a lot of fights, especially with my brother, and just seeing very bad things, very terrible things. I mean, throughout elementary all the way to high school, I got bullied a lot. It wasn't until high school that the bullying stopped, that I actually tried to become a regular person, I guess. Become a regular type of man to where I would have fun with friends of mine in high school. I basically had my own clique, as I would say. But I guess in elementary and middle school, I was that weird, awkward kid that everyone would point and look and say he's a weirdo, he's a creep, he's weird, don't associate with him, awful things like that. Around that same time, too, when I was going to elementary, I was starting to get ideas of I started to learn a lot of stuff. Like a lot of kids when I was growing up, they would read stuff like Captain Underpants to, I don't know, scary stories, those old creepy horror looking books that they would have in like each school library. I read like National Geographics to the dictionary to Edgar Allan Poe, etc. You know, Harry Potter. I was really huge. I read all the books before I got to the movies. Well, I mean, I was watching the movies and reading the books at the same time. And I watched I I went through my Harry Potter phase a long time ago. That will be another topic for another time, but I'm focusing on how I have these issues in my life. And so, at a very young age, I didn't start talking until I was 4 years old. It grew a lot of attention towards a lot of people, so including my mom. So they took me to this doctor that was from Yale University and had a doctorate's degree in child psychology from New York City, which is holy shit. At the time, it was really, excuse my language again, it was really up there at the time. So they inter- she interviewed me, asked me questions and stuff. I don't remember what they were, but I do remember they had me doing puzzle pieces, you know, those building blocks, and I would get some and I would create something new out of it. So my mom and my family thought that I was autistic. In actuality, I was, according to the doctor, was very highly intelligent and artistic. Basically, saying that I was very creative in what I do, which is weird. Especially me talking about it, it's still weird. Going on with it, a lot of kids treated me and my family different, as well as my brother and sisters, because normally when you live in a city where I'm at, especially growing up in various neighborhoods, being Hispanic with light skin, I'm gonna touch on a very touchy subject as well. I actually got picked on a lot by people, basically a lot of kids who were Mexican Americans, to where me, I'm part Puerto Rican and part Mexican, alongside with part Spaniard and part Mongolian, which is very an interesting mix. But I had to look up my family history and stuff a while ago, and that's another topic again. But going on, we got picked on a lot because I guess we were light skinned compared to everyone else from the schools that we were going to. And so what ended up happening growing up was a lot of bullying, a lot of kids shoving me. Most of my bullies were girls, believe it or not, which is why I also promote domestic violence awareness for this month, because that is the actual month. But the reason why I promote that as well is because it doesn't happen men towards women, it happens to women towards men as well. And it happened to me a lot growing up, and my worst bullies were boys. They were mostly boys. Especially, I was the type of kid to where I had ideas, I guess, that were ahead of everyone. Like, how come boys get action figures and why do girls get Barbies? Like, that was one thing that clicked in my head as a kid. And to test that controversy, I got a Barbie. I took it to school, and I got picked on a lot. But at the same time, the girl bullies that picked on me even more, because I guess their mentality was boys should play with action figures and girls should play with dolls. But it was like, at that time, at a very young age, I was like, well, why? Why is it that way? You know? And then another thing that I later got diagnosed with was dyslexia and ADHD, and a lot of people called me stupid as well, an idiot, a retarded or something, because, you know, it was really hard for me to read. I was very hyperactive, and I did a lot of idiotic things that are, looking back at, are pretty funny now. But at the time, I got picked on a lot, not by kids as well, but sometimes by people, by adults. When I was younger, it was, I guess, something I didn't really want to bring my attention towards my family, because I don't like confrontation. To this day, it's something that's very touchy. That is something that I'm trying to get over. I mean, confrontation is good and all, but at the same time, it can be a very bad thing if it's done in a very bad way. So going on with my life, I guess by fifth grade, it was more like I was going through so much turmoil, not in school life, but in my home life as well. My dad at the time was in and out of the hospital for heart attacks and aneurysms, I guess due to smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, as well as past drug use, which I ended up finding out later in my life. And then I guess on Easter Sunday of 2006, I guess this would be a memory that I would remember for the rest of my life. That day particularly, my dad passed away that day, or that night. But going on with that day, right before the last time I saw him, I walked out of my room while my brother's playing NBA 2K on the OG Xbox. I walked out. I was going to go use the restroom. Next thing you know, I see my dad on the ground, clenching the wall. And my mom tells me to go back to my room. I'm like, is Dad okay? And she's just like telling me to go back to my room. Next thing you know, I see an ambulance outside of our window. Immediately, the crutches came in. They took him to the hospital. The closest hospital I was living at the time was a military hospital off by Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. That's right, I'm a Texas boy. But going back, next morning I woke up. A lot of family and friends were at our house that morning when I woke up. And my mom told me the words, Dad's dead. Dad died last night. And I cried, not out of sorrow and of missing my father. It was more like a pissed off, angry me was waking up. Like this, I was a tween already. I was about to be a teenager, and my dad died. And that's something that I guess a lot of people are going to carry for a long time. And so I attended the funeral, my father's funeral, and throughout the whole service until they put him to the ground, I didn't cry until they put him in the ground. I was more angry at him of the fact that I wanted him to stick around. The only time he talked to me was right before he passed away. He was around, it's just he never really conversed with me and my brother. He conversed with my brother, but I don't know what he told him. Like what he really told him. And he would always tell me to get out of his room. And so going on with the story, for the next few months, I was depressed. For the next few months, I was really depressed. Though trying to hide it with a smiling face, it was my first time ever feeling depression. Although I was already feeling depression, it was never that amplified. I mean, yeah, I cried over minor things as a kid and being bullied, but I would just shuffle it off before them. But now realizing that someone that is close to you as family passing away, it never leaves you. And so I had to attend summer school that year. I missed my final exams, and or back then in Texas we called it the tax test. And so I went to at that same time I went to middle school, and middle school was the second lowest point of my life. Not, it used to be the first, but now it's the second. My brother at the time would go outside and play basketball and smoke bud. I would stay inside and play video games. You know, I couldn't really, even with anime. The reason why I even talk about anime at all now, all of a sudden, is because it was something I was in the closet to, and I tried to talk to my friends about it, and the only animes they wanted to talk about was Pokemon, which Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh, which was very huge at the time, and me being the weird kid, I guess the weirdo in this sense was, I couldn't really talk about the animes I really did like, which was animes like Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland, which is an underrated anime movie to one of my personally favorite Japanese animated movies of all time, which was Spirited Away, as well as loving Cowboy Bebop, growing up on Death Note. Well, I mean, I didn't watch Death Note growing up. I heard about it. I had a friend of mine in middle school to it. She had a Death Note, and if someone pushed her over, she was like this cool goth girl. And if someone would push her over, she would just write their name just like Miguel Vasquez and just close it. And I noticed it one day. I'm like, hey, what is that? And she's like, oh, it's my Death Note. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know what it was. It was fun. It was funny. It's funny to look back at now because I eventually watched the anime, and it was pretty funny. It's pretty funny to look back, and I was like, yeah. But going on with the story, a lot of my friends were considered weirdos in our cast as well. Around the same time, I wanted to take up music. At first, I wanted to be an archaeologist like Indiana Jones, how it goes in these awesome adventures, has his whip. I wanted to be Indiana Jones. I wanted to do that. But at the same time, it's like, people are going to think I'm more of a dork. That was my mentality back then. Now looking back at it, it's like, I should have just gone with archaeology. It's a really cool thing to learn about that stuff. It really is. But I think why I chose to do music was, it was something, I always wanted to do something new. I was never good at drawing. I'd always thought my art was shit. And every time I drew art, a lot of people were terrified by it because it was something that was abnormal. That's the thing that I don't like, the word normal and abnormal. Abnormal is like weird, because basically the idea of normality is that it's an individual's point of view of what their idea of normality is, or what their term of normal is. I just say straight up, everybody's weird. Everybody has their weird oddities in their life. There's no such thing as normal. Everyone's weird. So I guess growing up in going on my teenage years, I was really depressed, had really bad acne on my face. I had the voice like Rick or Morty. I had that voice going on. It was just an instant switch, just like, oh, hey guys, to, hey, how's it going? So it was that going on. When I wanted to do music, I wanted to be the best of the best. I was hugely influenced by Michael Jackson, from Michael Jackson to Nirvana to Stevie Wonder to Metallica, etc. But there was always those weird phases that you go as a kid, the weird phases to where you're want to be an emo kid to now you're a hipster or whatever, beatnik, whatever you want to call it. To me, I was the weird kid to where I was experiencing a lot of stuff to where I would be so obsessed with a musician, I would basically try to do everything that they would do. it was Michael Jackson and then Freddie Mercury from Queen. I wanted to sing like Freddie, so I guess for a whole amount of 2 to 3 years, I sang different various artists from the Beatles to the Doors to Hendrix to Queen, of course, definitely Queen, until I got my voice range. Particularly, it was my expression, my outlet was music, and all I wanted to do was music. I picked up the violin, hated the violin, especially since they didn't have orchestra at the school I was going to. They only had was mariachi, which is traditional Mexican music, which is like the you go the they had that, and there was band, and I couldn't. And we only had a violin and a guitar at home, so I chose to play the violin because I didn't know how to play guitar. It wasn't until 7th grade that let me the keynote. My friend with the death note, she actually taught me how to play bass. She actually taught me a little bit of bass and what the name of the notes were. And then we had a guitar at home, so I picked up my guitar and just plucked one at a time, and I wrote my first song, which is called the Two String Song. And it's just two strings, just the E and the A, to a simple melody. Simple melody with a simple lyrics. It was simple, but it was interesting, and it was my outlet. I got picked on by everybody. Yeah, I got picked on my brother. Me and my brother, we eventually stopped fighting in like high school, like end of middle school, beginning of high schoolish. When I came to high school, I didn't have any bullies anymore. No one bullied me anymore. I had my first girlfriend in my freshman year. Very first time I was ever in a relationship. A lot of good memories in high school. Though I had to switch 2 schools. One school was really good to me. The other school, they didn't like me. When I went to Wagner, a lot of people were. When I went to my second high school, a lot of people were really weird. I guess half the school were kids who grew up like me, who came from really, I guess, really bad housing or Section 8 housing, to kids who had parents that had really good jobs at USAA or a decent damn good job. In my case, I wanted to build confidence in myself, and I took up JRTC, both Army and Air Force. In my first high school, it was Air Force, and then in Army, and then in my second high school, I was in the Army JRTC. A lot of people were mad that I got promoted from private all the way to sergeant first class. I was a platoon sergeant, but I wasn't good at it. I was always lashing out on the younger kids. I was never good at it. So, going on, marching band too. I loved marching band in my first high school. Everyone was cool. My second high school, however, everybody in every class wanted to be the best of the best in the state. And that was something that I was really stressed out about. Because I was back again. I was being the outcast again. And then I ended up meeting my best friend. I guess she's still my best friend for my entire life. She is awesome. Brianna. And now she's a damn good mom of 3 kids. Good job, Brianna. If you're watching this, I'm proud of you. But Brianna, she actually was the one that actually helped me get out of my shell a lot more than any of my relationships that I was ever in. She actually helped me be the person that I am. To actually tell me it's okay to like anime. No one really gives a fuck if you like anime or not. You're in high school now, And I was starting to get out of that shell, and the only thing I associated anime with was hentai. It was weird. I was a weird kid. But then going on to high school, she showed me a whole bunch of new music. Never Shot Never. She introduced me to Christopher Drew. She introduced me to. I mean, I was already introduced to Bring Me the Horizon and Chelsea Grin, which, of course, as an OG undercover scene kid, of course I'm gonna know about Chelsea Grin. Of course I'm gonna know about Bring Me the Horizon, old school Bring Me the Horizon. I'm gonna know about those bands. Of course, I grew up around that time. It was my middle school years, and so I finally became comfortable with myself. Like around the time that I started wearing skinny jeans, I finally let my hair grow out to like this long, and it was awesome, teasing it and stuff. And I was completely different from who I used to be. A weird introverted kid who was socially awkward to now being a raw type of scene kid or scene hipster hippie type of kid, to where it was a point of my life to where I didn't wear shoes. I was barefooted and walked around everywhere. When I say I was into Christopher Drew, I mean it was a point that I didn't take showers at all at one point in my life. I I barefooted all across my home city without wearing any shoes, to the point that my feet started growing calluses, and then I ended up getting sick, so I had to wear Toms, which I still love Toms to this day. It was awesome. And then I was introduced, even though it was the second time I heard about this place called the White Rabbit. Started going to the White Rabbit, both huge shows and local shows. It was a big part of my life. I met people that were like me, that felt the same way I felt, that opened. I was immediately the person that I wanted to be. I was no longer a weird introverted, a weird type of kid. Though yeah, I'm a type of introvert. I'm a type of guy that's very shy and timid in person. But at the same time too, even though I didn't explain it before, I didn't want anything to do with drugs. I was a really bad drug addict back then. By the age of 18, I was doing drug after drug after drug, pills, smoking bud, drinking alcohol. As a minor, I'm putting that out there. Don't ever do it. Don't ever drop out of high school and do drugs. It's a very, very bad idea. I was in and out of relationships. I met this one girl. Her name, we're gonna call her Max. Max was like, I guess, was the drug syrup to my pancake heart, is what I call it. And I thought we were in love. And one thing led to another, and it was a jealousy game when I was getting known as a musician. But long story short, she ended up leaving me for my best friend. I know, it's really weird for me to talk about these things. It really is. But going on story-wise, I think that it really affected me at that moment in my life, to where went on from full-on happiness to full-on depression all over again. I wasn't depressed anymore about my dad passing away or how I got bullied in school. I was depressed. I was heartbroken. I was at the age of 18, at the age of 19, I wanted to commit suicide. That thought was tracing my mind again. And so I was going to party after party. I didn't care about music anymore, because most of my songs that I was writing at the time were about her. I didn't want to release it. I have a pink trunk in the closet at this house that's filled with material of stuff of that turmoil that I don't like to revisit anymore. And so my very last relationship with my very last girlfriend, I was spoiled. She was a single mom, but she had very huge trust issues, and so one thing led to another. My so-called friends that I thought were friends ended up turning their backs on me when I really needed someone to talk to. And one day I woke up and I wanted to kill myself. And then so, starting from late 2013 all the way to early 2015, was in and out of the hospital of suicidal attempts. It got to a point that when my doctors were evaluating me, they didn't know what to diagnose me. They didn't know if I was doing it just for the free food, just for the free drugs. No. I couldn't really relate to anyone. It was something clicked in my head that no matter how much they try to fix me, I will never be put back together. It was all the turmoil in everything that I experienced in that time. It really harmed my family. You know, I was a really huge fan. Like, around the same time, too, it was the anniversary, around that same time as well, that I went to the hospital. It was the 20th anniversary of Kurt Cobain's passing, and it was something that bothered me. And so, one particular visit to hospital, I couldn't wake up. They had to pump my stomach, and I guess what happened was, I think I died. All I remember was, and I know people are going to debate this for a very long time from what I'm about to say. I have nothing against religion or any of that whatsoever, but what I saw after I apparently passed away was nothing. All I saw was me looking at myself like this. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel happy. I just was neutral. And so I sat down, meditated, and when I woke up, I was hooked up to heart monitors and an IV, and they told me that they had to pump my stomach full of coal, which is a disgusting thing, especially seeing in a movie like Control, where it's a movie about lead vocalist of Joy Division, Ian Curtis, and how he was very suicidal and depressive, as well as dealing with epilepsy. And they had a particular scene that he got pumped with coal. And years after those incidents, I look back at that, I'm like, I can't believe I did that to myself. Not only that I fucked up my body a lot, no, I fucked up my vocals a lot. Singing wise, though, that's a very selfish thing to say. What's even more selfish is that I didn't care about what other people thought of me if I was gone. If I was gone, it would be the solve my problems. And around the same year, too, I looked up to Robin Williams, and he did that to himself, and it's something as well that made me feel numb. I guess I looked up to Robin as a father figure at one point, because he was one of my favorite comedians, overall actors that made me laugh. That made me laugh as a child when I was going through a rough time at school, especially watching Aladdin. Doing impressions of him too is really fun, but then he passes away and my childhood is gone. And there's nothing left. But then by 2015, I kicked the habit. I shed my old skin of my past self of drugs and abuse, and started going on a straight line from now on. But at the same time, we all go through different forks in the road. And so, going down my road of being sober, I still smoked bud. It took the whole sleeping paralysis to stop making me stop smoke bud, because smoking marijuana, it's still a drug. It's still a drug. It doesn't change the fact it's still a drug. And especially excessively drinking alcohol, it's alcohol. It's going to make you do outrageous things. And I don't drink excessively anymore. The only thing I do now, substance-wise, is smoking cigarettes, and I'm trying to kick that habit too, and it's hard. But the doctor's diagnosis after those hospital visits were, I was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, major depressive disorder, social anxiety disorder, and PTSD, basically, there was a lot of things. The moral of the story is, kids, especially since the increase of teenagers has gone up, of depression, anxiety from ages 3 to age 17, from ages 3 to 17. I want you guys to take this not with just a grain of salt, but overall why I do my videos in the first place. Is I want to help y'all as the viewers to actually get through your funk and not end it up how I ended up. To where it's hard for me to go outside sometimes because I'm afraid everyone's going to look at me. And that's another thing I'm going to bring up is when I saw the Joker movie and I did the cosplay, putting on that makeup and the suit and everything, it alleviated all of my anxieties. It took them all away. For some odd reason, I felt empowered. It was weird. I don't know how to describe it, but I wasn't myself. I was Joker. I was the Joker. I wasn't going to act cynical. No, that thought was still in my head. I wasn't going to act all evil and rude. But I wanted to fuck with people. I guess that's the way I put it when I put on that outfit. So, on Twitter earlier, I said that I'm going to do a surprise stream. Well, just to put it out and forward, I'm going tomorrow to a event. Emo is Forever. My friend Davy Jones invited me, and they really want to see me do the cosplay, and so I'm gonna go and do the cosplay and hopefully not make strange eyebrows to people. But yeah, I'm gonna fuck with people. It's just I don't want to get arrested for wearing the makeup because it's a stupid idea. I'm not gonna do anything absurd and outrageous at all, especially since it's already outrageous enough going to a musical venue dressed up as a clown with makeup on, since there were other events that were horrible that led to loss in lives and horrible incidences. But the moral of the story is that don't be afraid to be yourself. Be open to who you are inside. If you need someone to talk to, you could talk to me. You could talk to your friends and family. If you have no one else to talk to, like I said again, you could talk to me. Talk to me in the comments down below, or DM me on Twitter or Instagram, or even message me on Facebook. I'm always there for people. And no matter how much trouble you're going through, you always gotta look on the bright side of life. Because trust me, things do get better. It's not as a matter of what if this is as good as it gets. No. Things get better in life. And I want to give a huge thanks to, as well as my friends and family, especially my family, especially my mom, is letting me stay. Still, even though I'm 25 years old and I still live with my mom, like, yeah, it's gonna be embarrassing. I get that, but I want to thank her so much because she's helping me a lot, not just money wise, but as well as having a place to stay, as well as mentally being balanced overall. Hope you guys enjoy this video. And I guess already by the time you're watching this, it's already past World Mental Health Day. But I hope this brings a lot of awareness to y'all, especially why I'm not streaming recently is because I'm super stressed out, creatively, function wise, and so I guess from now on Twitch I'm going to do one stream a week depending on what you guys vote for in Twitter. I will leave every link down below to my Twitter, to my Instagram, to my Facebook, as well as my musical Instagram and yada yada yada. You don't want to hear this crap over again. Remember, my fellow hipster bros, stay awesome. And not even stay smiling. Have hope. And be yourself. I'll see you guys in the next video.